Greetings from Saxtons River Vermont. I am here at the home of Jeff and Ann, who live right in the middle of the village, and their home is extra special because it was formerly a Catholic church, and they are transforming it into their home. So let's see if they're home. I am an artist living in beautiful Vermont, USA, and I have a lot of questions. So I engage the minds of the people that I meet. Poets, writers, artists. I explore what's inside and share it with you. My name is Ricky McGeckran, and I am eager to know.
Hello.
Hi there.
Welcome to our home. This is our very large space where we do 3 different things. We have our business, we have our home, and we have space for Jeff's studios, my studio. So we're really lucky to be living in a place that's big enough for us. Mm-hmm. The front part of the building is office space, and everything in here is still a little bit in flux. We've probably moved through the building 5 times in the 3 years we've been here, just as different parts get worked on. So this part is momentarily pretty settled. I've got a desk, we've got a nice meeting space, and then we'll take you back to the house portion. So one of the things that we wanted to work on as we figured out what the church would be like was how to change it a little bit from church to home. And so one of the ideas was to get rid of a center hallway and try to change it to more of a side hallway. This does several things for us. It gives us a nice gallery, and it lets us really maximize these windows. The windows themselves are a little bit of a surprise for us. We didn't realize until we've been in here quite a while that they once had full traditional church stained glass windows. But when the church was decommissioned, those were sold to another church here in Vermont. So we've never even seen them. Don't know what they look like, but we're left with this beautiful glass that was actually the second and protective glass. So Jeff luckily put some temporary acrylic in there to keep us warm until we get that all worked out.
One of the things we were lacking when we first moved in was facility. So we built a bathroom here. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe that's where the candle racks and all that stuff were. I don't know. I'm not Catholic. So along with the sexy gypsy lights and the thing, we have the contour door that we made to follow the shape of one of the arches. The idea is just sort of make it sort of intrinsic, use the space and fit into the space rather than changing the space. And I'm having fun doing things like made my own hinge for it to rest on out of spare parts, just for the giggles. And the plan is for these to have all different paintings on them in the end when we get it completely finished. Maybe I can talk my friend Rick into doing one.
We have the main living space. So this is our dining room, kitchen, living room, and then up behind us will be our bedroom and another bathroom. All of this is in some ways still the most in development. We're still building actively in this while living in it, which is true to what our full experience has been. Yeah. One of the things that I really like about the way the church is coming together is we've been able to keep the arches in the ceiling, which is really important to me. And Jeff has been able to repurpose a lot of things, like the church pews became our countertops. And then we'll also take a look at the stairs, which he also made out of the reclaimed church pews that were in the building when we purchased it.
Yeah, it's not the most efficient thing in terms of how to heat it. We mentioned heating, but the important thing is to keep a sense of the vista of the size of the thing the way it was, because when we moved in, it was just all one big open space. And sort of saving some of that was part of the sort of vision as we started designing things. And here we are in the den. This was the first thing we made semi-inhabitable, including the wood stove, which was very necessary the first year. We lived down here pretty much the first year. I mean, it's just us and some blankets. It was very close to camping. The shop is a little bit of a mess, as all shops are, it seems, but there's plenty of room. And we have everything we need to do, the carpentry and the finish, all the wood trim and stuff we're doing ourselves, using a lot of materials from the church, like the pews, you saw those, using a lot of reclaimed materials where possible. But we got all the basics, ready to have some fun.
Hey, Ann and Jeff, thank you for that wonderful tour.
You're welcome.
It's fun.
Now, this home seems like it would be someone's dream to create a home like this. Was this a dream that you always had, or was this something that you kind of took advantage of an opportunity and just took advantage of something that you saw?
Well, to me, it's really both, because we talked about doing things like this for years, decades. You know, we would be like falling in love with the old abandoned gas station and saying, you know, I could do such wonderful things with that. But we had decided actually to buy a house in Vermont that didn't need any work. And the idea was we would just go and it'd be done. But COVID was happening and the real estate was being weird.
Okay.
And when we saw this, that whole dream came flooding back, and it took about 3 minutes for me to call up the stairs to Ann in our old place and say, "Oh, you're gonna want to come see this," because the moment I saw it, it was like, "Yeah, we could do that."
Yeah.
Was there something in particular that you saw?
For me, the things that made this work over some of the other ideas wasn't quite as big, and because it's a church, it's a lower floor and a main floor, so that let us do the divide.
Meaning the basement.
The basements,
Right.
yeah. So you get this divide between workspace, home space, and shop space, which we were always after. And we know from having shops crammed into 2-car garages on more, mainstream houses, what problems that causes.
Yeah.
So the functionality of the building was a major factor. And then we had looked at other churches, and they were still too churchy, if you know what I mean. This one, because it had been deconsecrated and it's a mid-century modern church to begin with, it's not got a lot of Christian iconography. And I just didn't feel comfortable, there's all kinds of words for those sorts of things now, but trying to absorb someone else's actual faith into our artistry. And so it worked for us much better that this one is, there's not, images in the glass. It's just a much cleaner slate, but still has sort of that grand space we were after.
All right.
Yeah.
Now that three parts of the home, you had the living home, the office, and the creative working. So that was part of what you were looking for. You were looking for a place that could
Absolutely.
support all of those.
Yeah.
We've called it compound dwelling.
Compound dwelling.
And we have tried compound dwelling in other places. I had mentioned the 2-car garage.
Yeah.
At one point I got interviewed for my sculpture work, and it was this, all online interview, which is weird. And the woman ended up calling and saying, "Now wait a minute, you say your son is a blacksmith, your husband is a woodworker, and you're a ceramicist, and you pull this off in a 2-car garage." Yeah, it's pretty wild, but
It's not
but we
pretty, but it's
do.
functional.
So knowing that we want to have the ability to do all the different types of art that we like, and that we want to explore, and that we want to have the intersections, it was important that we had enough space for that.
Now let's talk about the different things that you do want to do. Obviously, we're in a little bit of a construction zone, some aspects of it, and you haven't fully realized. So tell me about what you would like to do with the space creatively, like the different things that you would want to do.
Well, without being so specific, I always think about the time when you get the basics done, you can start to make embellishments on what you have. And so my vision for it is, as we get closer to finished, it gets weirder and weirder, because we start to be able to do things that are not just so we can put our knives in a drawer or something like that, something that's not so functional. We can do things that just, hey, that sounds like a laugh, let's do that. And so we talk all the time about a million crazy things we can do. The first thing is the treatment up above the balcony, and we'll get over there, where it's just going to have like a siding, cityscape, shadows of buildings, all kinds of just weirdness.
So here's the funny thing. That's the first time I ever heard that.
Oh yeah.
And that's sort of, no, no, don't be sorry. That's how this goes.
Right.
Can I tattle on you a little
Yeah,
bit?
sure, yeah.
Anybody from the Bellows Falls area is going to love this. When we first moved in, we had no rooms. We had one giant open church and one giant open retail space. You know, it had been this secondhand clothing
The
store.
basement was a retail space, yeah.
Yep. And so the basement was really the part that we needed to clean up and get ourselves down there before it was warm. So Jeff was having fun daydreaming up here, and he would come and bring me drawings that we were going to build, like Jonah's whale, but there's also a ship, and then it's going to be like this. And I would just say, yeah, cool, but we might want doors.
Yeah.
And then we'd have to go have a conversation with that.
The ship's prow was a good
Yeah.
idea, though.
It was an awesome idea.
When you came in the door,
Yep.
it's just going to be like this ship's prow here.
But for Bellows Falls,
impossible.
the day you came home saying, so I've been over to Bellows Falls and I've picked out the train car. I'm going to put a train car in here from front to back, and then I won't have to build these rooms. We'll just have all the rooms we need in the train car.
Problem
and up above.
solved.
Problem solved. Yeah.
How does the train car get from Bellows Falls to here? Oh, they'll transport it.
Yeah.
I'm picturing all the power lines that have to come down and everything that would happen. And it's fine. How does it get in here? Oh, well, we'll just take the front facade off.
Yeah.
Just breathe. We'll work on. But then it turned out to be too long.
Yeah, the train car was actually too long to fit in the building.
But I'm sure there's similar stories you can tell about me,
Another
because,
great
often you have to say to me, but physics. I
Physics,
can't
yeah.
make that just dangle.
It sounds like a constant battle between crazy creative ideas and practicality.
Yeah.
And but all being done in this. What an incredible space we're in for that.
Yeah.
It's like you're living in this blank canvas, really.
Yeah, and moving into things like this that had all the options open,
Yeah.
and deciding on what options are going to be real is sort of part of why we're still working on it now 3 years later.
You two have really a creative, collaborative relationship. That's
yeah.
really that's incredible.
Yeah.
We worked
How long have you all been together? How long have you all been together?
We will have met 41 years ago in May, and we have been married 38 years.
Yeah,
So,
she was
yeah,
12, and
Not quite,
That's
close enough. Don't get yourself in trouble.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, we see shows on television, on cable, about people taking unusual spaces and turning them into homes. And it's incredible that I have one of these right around the corner from my house. Like, this is, when I first came here, that's exactly what I thought. This is something that is on a home renovation show, and it is right around the corner from me. So
That's
I'm very...
good to hear.
You're our closest we've come to the home renovation show, so thanks for the opportunity.
Well, you never know where this. Eager to know opens up lots of
There we
doors.
go.
Yeah, there you go.
So you never know what might happen.
Yeah.
We're glad to do it.
Another thing that I think has been special about this project compared, because Jeff and I have owned a few other homes and buildings, if you get in a place that's closed-minded, whether they're closed-minded around the historic district, if they're closed-minded around covenants, or even what all the legal stuff, codes and restrictions and all that, Vermont is especially welcoming to creativity. And I feel like the neighborhood here, for all that there's been a little like, oh, we hate to see the church close, oh, we really please don't change anything, that sort of stuff. As soon as people see what we're doing, they're so supportive. Everyone has been really supportive with, play it out, take it where you need it to go.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. In terms of being a creative person, Vermont is very, well, certainly where we live, everyone is certainly very supportive of that and open to new creative ideas. And I did one note, this is the former Catholic church in our village.
Right.
So this was a Catholic church forever, and I know that you had mentioned that there are people that used to come here quite regularly and have come and visited your home, and they're visiting the church that they used to attend.
Yeah. It's nice because whatever, we weren't here for it, But whenever went on within that community, they understood that the church as an entity, a community of people, needed to transition and needed to change. And their period of coming to reckon with the building change, I think, happened before we were here. So instead, like right after we moved here, they had to tear a beautiful church down in Bellows Falls.
Tear it down?
Tear it down,
Oh,
yeah.
God.
So I think a lot of people realize that adaptation is adaptation, and it helps keep the building, which people do think the building is
Saving the building
worth
is
saving on
better
Main Street.
than-
Yeah.
Better than losing it altogether.
When we think about the different creative activities that could happen here, I know that there's a kiln, there's a workshop. Can you talk a little bit about your vision for the beyond renovations and those related activities, but other creative things that you would like to happen here?
Well, in part, it's sort of our retirement plan, because we didn't make any other plans. We just plan on making art until we drop over one day.
Well, I love that.
You know, and you've probably got a very similar plan. But yeah, I mean, the thing about it is we'll need to make stuff and sell it hopefully someday. I mean, right now we're not really focused on that because our business is still going and is still working every day. You know, we're just not quite there yet to being able to let everything else go and just concentrate on making art. But to have a place to do that and to be able to go from printmaking to painting to, you know, woodworking, welding. I used to make lamps and stuff back in the day. And so to be able to have all of that under one roof is really kind of a cool idea. And I don't know whether we'll get to a place where we also have like friends come and use, you know, if we have something you need, for instance, and you don't have one, come on over, you know, we could make some mortises. You'll love it, you know, and that's the kind of thing where it gets to a little community as well.
The other piece for me that I think about relative, and I'm staring up at the ceilings because I think about it as sort of a lofty idea. We've had other homes and we would buy them and assume that there was like a period of our life when we were going to be in that house. We could do things, we could not do some of the things we wanted because we knew we'd be selling it. And one of the things that, you know, I won't say we'll never sell it while we're still, you know, kicking. But one of the ideas I feel like is here is from the time we bought it, we were thinking about two things simultaneously. One, we don't have to hold back. We own it. We can do every crazy idea we want. If we want to put a train car in it, if we want to dangle things from the ceiling, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
We also told ourselves we could bring everything we wanted to bring and sort out what we didn't need once we got here because we couldn't make decisions about what we needed and didn't need. But then the other piece that as we get closer and closer, there's a lot of things that it's just good for the building. It's good for whatever its future will be because we won't have it forever. So like we're about to rework the front steps. Well, that's turned into a porch with a handicap ramp because for this building to be what it needs to be in the 21st century for the village, you can't, it's not accessible. So we're going to fix that. And that helps me sort of daydream. Not that we're necessarily building it for the village, but how are we doing whatever we do with this building in a way that it's better than it was when we got it
Right,
for the sake of the village.
right.
So it could be turned back into some retail.
Okay.
You know, theoretically, we're keeping that in mind when we build our spaces out so that we'd have the possibility of becoming, you know, some sort of venue. It'd make a really great recording studio. And
It would have made a great nightclub before, when it was one big open space. Now, I think it might be tough getting a bunch of ravers here, or nightclub attendees here in Saxtons River, but I think the space definitely would have supported it.
Yeah. But I think that just yesterday, we learned that there was, you know, someone who thought that it would be a good investment as like an arts and crafts school. It would. And we helped, not knowing that, we've helped move it closer to that possibility.
Nice. Very good.
It's also moved closer to being able to be multi-family dwelling. like, we built it for a single family dwelling, but sort of the way things are divided up in the basement, you could actually have an apartment down there. And
Okay.
so just trying to think, I mean, I get a little mushy about it, but just sort of thinking 2 generations ahead. What could this building be? Because one of the problems with a building like this, they're called white elephants, and it's because they were built with a single purpose in mind.
Okay.
And so adapting them becomes more and more difficult, financing them, insuring them, everything is difficult because of their single use. So can we help this building sort of get up over that hurdle?
Right. Unfortunately, the one thing we won't get to do is turn it into a skate park, because when we first came, you talk about being an open space, it would have been a really great skate park.
An indoor skate park in
With a
Vermont.
big ramp right up there where Jesus used to hang.
That would have been interesting.
My name is Ricky McGuckran, and you have been listening to Eager to Know, the podcast. If you haven't already, please go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join me next week for another Eager to Know podcast.